In this video, we're diving deep into Destiny 2, The Edge of Fate, to break down all the exotic weapon changes, buffs, nerfs, reworks, and champion synergy. Bungie has brought serious updates to fan-favorite exotics, and it's time to see what's worth bringing into PvE and PvP this season. Let's restart. First, we have Vigilance Wing's exotic kinetic pulse rifle. How its work: Harsh Truth's perks. This weapon fires a 5-round burst. When a nearby ally is killed, gain health regeneration and increased movement speed. Last stand perks: improved weapon performance and greatly increased recovery when its wielder is the last living member of a fire team. In Edge of Fate made a change that will allow it to last stand bonus is now active when running solo in PvE activities. Next we have Hierarchy of Needs, exotic solar energy combat bow. So how its work: Guidance Ring perk. Precision hits and final blows build guidance ring energy. Opposing guardians grant additional energy. At full charge, hip firing creates a guidance ring. Apollonic tangent perk. Arrows fired through a guidance ring release seeking projectiles, which do more damage based on distance traveled. In Edge of Fate, made a change that will allow it to players gain charges of guidance ring with any hit from Hierarchy of Needs, and now only need 3 charges to deploy the ring. Hierarchy's spawned guidance ring duration increased from 13 to 20 seconds. Hierarchy's spawned guidance ring now rotates to face its owner. Players are now limited to 1 guidance ring in the world per player. Spawning a second one will remove your previous ring. All bows now spawn missiles when fired through an allied player's guidance ring. Yes, all bows. Fixed an issue where Hierarchy Seeker missiles would not play detonation visual effects when colliding with world geometry. Next exotic, Dead Man's Tale, is Kinetic Scout Rifle. How its work: Cranial Spike perk. Chaining precision hits grants bonus target acquisition and range. Killing Wind perk. Final blows grant increased mobility, weapon range, and handling for a short duration. Dead Man's Tale has developed a reputation in the Crucible over its years in game, but has always struggled a bit in PvE. We've made some adjustments to help it cancel out its long reload time and reward players more for landing their headshots. And Edge of Fate made a change that will allow it to stack a cranial spike, so now grants plus 3.4% damage versus combatants, max 17% at 5 stacks, plus 1 rounds reloaded. Next exotic is Duality Solar Energy Shotgun. How its work: Compression Chamber perks. Fires a pellet spread in hipfire, or a single high-damage slug while aiming. On Blackwing's perks, pellet final blows grant a stacking precision damage and reload speed buff. Precision hits with slugs extend the duration. In Edge of Fate, made a change that will allow it to added a secondary activator for on Blackwings. Now gives the buff when landing most of your pellets on a target. Next, we have the Navigator, exotic kinetic strand trace rifle. Here's how it works: Protective Weave perks. Firing this weapon at an ally grants woven mail to both the user and the target. And with Weft Cutter perks, dealing sustained damage severs the target. In Edge of Fate made a change that will allow it to. We've added a bonus to the weapon while the wielder has woven mail to let it excel while you are using it for its original purpose. When the user has woven mail, increased damage 25% in PvE and 5% in PvP. Last high change, we increased ammo generation stat. I'm honestly hyped to test it out with my Titan Strand build and see how strong it really is. Is this the buff it needed to finally feel great in high-level content? Let's find out when Edge of Fate release. Next we have Wicked Implement, is exotic stasis kinetic scout rifle. Here's how it works: Creeping Attrition perk. Rapidly landing precision hits causes targets to become slowed. Tithing Harvest perk. While Creeping Attrition is active, destroying stasis crystals or landing precision final blows creates a stasis shard. The stasis shard returns to you, and collecting stasis shards refills the magazine. An Edge of Fate made a change. We've shifted Wicked Implement to a faster fire rate to better align with its gameplay fantasy. With our recent changes to how stasis interacts with champions, we've also made Wicked Implement to be anti-overload intrinsically, to align with Stasis's role in the sandbox. Now's rapid fire RPM now takes 1 additional hit to start slowing and to freeze, to account for the faster rate of fire. Increased magazine size to 20 is now intrinsically anti-overload. This is a big change for me, Warlock. Stasis is finally feeling perfect for solo players like me. And now with the crazy anti-overload setup, it's actually fun and super effective. I've been running solo a lot and this build just clicks now. Freezing everything, staying alive, and shutting down champions, it's finally all coming together. Next we have Heartshadow, is exotic void power sword. Here's how it works: Exhumation perk. Heavy attacks made with full sword energy turn you invisible and fire exploding void projectiles. Shot in the dark perk. Remaining invisible grants this weapon increased damage for a brief duration. Hitting a target with this weapon's projectiles while shot in the dark is active weakens them. In Edge of Fate made a change. A big constrictor for a lot of heavy swords is just how fast they chew through ammo. It makes it hard to choose when and where to use them, especially for a weapon like Heartshadow that very much wants you to use it to clear out chaff by peeking in and out of invisibility. So, with these changes, we've leaned harder into that fantasy. Increased ammo reserves, reduced cost of heavy attack to 3 from 4 added. Defeats while shot in the dark is active, make you invisible once more.
Next exotic is Worldline Zero Arc Power Sword. Here's how it works. Tesseract perks. Heavy attack, use while sprinting with full energy to launch a heavy blink attack. Press again after the strike to blink a second time, and with tireless blade perks. Sword ammo granted for every other powered sword kill. But here's the big change in Edge of Fate. Increased lunge distance of the heavy Tesseract attack by 3 meters, removed the ability to chain 2 blink attacks back to back, added a new effect. Defeating a target with Tesseract allows you to Tesseract again for a short duration. These extra blink attacks cost less ammo and consumes less guard energy.
Next, Devil's Ruin is Exotic Solar Energy Sidearm. Here's how it works. Close the gap perks, variable trigger. Press and release to fire individual shots. Hold to charge up a high-powered stagger stunning laser. Strong against unstoppable champions. Pyrogenesis perks. Fully charging the laser refills the magazine from reserves. But here's the big change in Edge of Fate. Devil's Ruin is another exotic that has felt a bit one-trick for a long time now. We have reworked the weapon to remove its fire on release behavior, as well as making the beam mode more of a reward once it has been enabled. Removed fire on release behavior. Beam is now behind special reload. Kills with the weapon make fire sprites, and picking up a fire sprite enables the special reload. Beam now scorches on hit and ignites on kills. Increased magazine size to 20 is now intrinsically anti-unstoppable.
Next is Tommy's Matchbook. Exotic Solar Energy Auto Rifle.
Here's how it works. Ignition trigger perks. Sustained fire with this weapon overheats it, increasing damage but burning the user. And with heatsink perks, overheat damage is reduced while not aiming down sights. But here's the big change in Edge of Fate. Tommy's Matchbook runs into issues with survivability and overall usability. These changes focus on improving that experience, allowing players to maintain ignition trigger even if they stop shooting for a moment, and providing intrinsic avenues to heal back lost health without completely removing build crafting potential. We also wanted to provide a higher incentive for players to hip fire this weapon and improve how self-damage is communicated to the user and to other players. General added a burning screen effect while the player takes self-damage from ignition trigger.
Other players who are taking self-damage from ignition trigger will now have a burning effect surrounding their model.
The HUD buff now appears as a bar. While ignition trigger is active, the bar charges as you fire the weapon and drains when you don't. So long as the bar has some charge, ignition trigger will remain active.
Hipfire self-damage decreased to 50% less damage than ADS self-damage, previously 33% less damage.
Removed improved health regen. Now final blows while ignition trigger is active grant cure times 1 to the user. Scorch on hit is unchanged.
This is actually a nice change for PvP. Now final blows while ignition is active will give you cure. That's a solid boost to survivability and could really help in tight fights. Can't wait to try it out.
Last exotic is Winterbite Stasis Power Glaive. Here's how it works. Big Frigid Glaive perks. Fires a large ball of energy that locks onto nearby targets and freezes them. And with Tilting at Windmills perks. Blocking damage with your shield increases movement speed while shielding. But here's the big change in Edge of Fate. With the massive update to how melee damage works, this always-on effect on Winterbite ended up being a bit too much free damage, especially in comparison to swords. Like Wicked Implement, Winterbite will now be intrinsically anti-overload to align with the changes made to Stasis Shatter's Champion Stunning. Reduced enhanced melee damage with ammo to plus 20% versus bosses, down from plus 50%, is now intrinsically anti-overload. This is to account for this now being able to receive melee damage bonuses from a variety of sources. This means it can now be boosted by melee damage buffs, armor mods that increase melee damage, exotic armor that enhances melee damage. This buff is straight up insane. With the new melee damage scaling, Titans running Syntheseps or Wormgod Caress are about to break the game using Winterbite. I'm talking one-shotting champions, melting bosses, and deleting enemies before they even know what hit them. Winterbite is no longer just a cool-looking glaive, it's now a melee nuke. And when you stack it with Syntheseps or Wormgod Caress Exotic's melee boosts, it's actually busted. You'll see how fast this thing goes from exotic to god tier. Trust me, if you're a Titan main, or just want to see what peak melee damage looks like, you need to try this build with good build. Let's break the sandbox together. Finally, some anti-champion changes for the following weapons have not been rebalanced, but have been given anti-champion capabilities intrinsically. Anti-Unstoppable, Queensbreaker, Salvation's Grip, and Dragon's Breath. For Anti-Overload, we have Tractor Cannon, Darcy, and Two-Tailed Fox. Conditional Finality can be Anti-Overload or Anti-Unstoppable, depending on which element is active.
If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content.